Appeal Court sitting in Abuja has upheld the suspension of several top officials of the Peoples Democratic Party PDP. Those affected include former National Secretary of the PDP, Samuel Anyanwu, the legal advisor, Kamaldeen Ajibade, the Deputy Legal Advisor, Okechukwu Osuoha, and the National Organizing Secretary, Umaru Bature. The Appellate Court also affirmed an earlier ruling of the Federal High Court delivered by Justice James Omotosho. The judgment upheld the decision of the PDP's National Working Committee to suspend the officials on November 1st, 2025. Reacting to the judgment, factional chairman Tinubu commended the justices for their review of the case, but argues that the courts should not interfere in the internal affairs of political parties. Meanwhile, factional National Secretary Samuel Anyanwu said the ruling should not create divisions, urging party members to unite and work together for the future of the PDP.
On behalf of PDP, I want to most sincerely thank the justices of the Court of Appeal for their hard work and industry. Not only in the marathon manner, they had the appeals, but even the way they delivered judgment this morning up to this evening. We have listened to the judgments of the Court of Appeal, and we still maintain our position that our courts have no business meddling into matters that are purely political. These are matters that should be left to the internal affairs and internal resolution of the political parties. We have asked our lawyers to collect the certified true copies of the judgments that have just been delivered by the court. The court had promised that the judgments should be ready by tomorrow. So as soon as the judgments are received by our lawyers, they will advise us on what further necessary steps to take, if any, on the basis of the said judgment.
This is victory for PDP. Victory for every member of PDP in Nigeria and across Nigeria. It's a victory for everyone. Justice has been done. I want to appreciate the court for being very critical in this judgment. And it's a wake-up call for political parties to be able to ensure that their affairs of the party is being guided by the Constitution and other guidelines and instant laws. For us, we represent nobody because we are all PDP. And it's an opportunity to also call on every member of PDP to come back home. Let us move ahead. It's an opportunity for us again.
Well, let's bring in chieftain of the PDP, Daboikiabo Wamate, to discuss the recent developments at the Appeal Court and what that means for the PDP going forward. He's joined us virtually from his residence here in Abuja. Comrade, it's good to see you this evening. Thank you so much for joining us on the News Hour.
Thank you for having me once again.
Right.
Thank you.
Let's start this way. Is this ruling good news or bad news for the PDP from your perspective?
Well, I'm happy with it. But the most important thing is that a pronouncement has been made, a judgment has been given that has reduced to some extent the ambiguity surrounding the leadership of the party. And we hope that with the statement of our leaders and some of the action we saw today in court, they'll be able to come up with a political solution to this political crisis we are facing within our political party, the PDP.
Now, it's very clear that both parties want to continue this war either in the courts or outside of the courts. What do you make of the position of the Tanimu-Turaki-led National Working Committee that effectively has been ousted based on this appeal court judgment, with their appeal going to the Supreme Court now, and apparently the Abdurrahman Mohammed-led National Working Committee going ahead with their plans for the March convention? How do you see this ending exactly? Because it doesn't look like any of the groups is willing to concede grounds.
No, I think from the statement of the FCT minister, who is the leader of the Abdurrahman faction, that the door is open. This judgment should bring everybody to come together, sit down and drop their ego. And that is what people like us have been saying, even on their platform on several occasions, that ego should be dropped. We wouldn't have gotten to this point if we are able to arrest that ego issue on time, nip it in the bud. But as it is today, he has come up to also mention it, which I believe is a welcome development. And also, when Turaki was talking, if you look at, aside of the statement released by the MPS, he was saying that the judgment, the CTC will be out tomorrow, and the lawyers will study it and advise. So we are hoping that both leaders and both groups should come and sit down. What we read right now is a political is that what are we going to get if we get to the Supreme Court? It will be the parties suffering more at the expense of members and Nigerians. So we don't want the issue to get to the Supreme Court. We want our political leaders to sit down. Today, if you see at the appeal court, Anyanwu and Senator Anyanwu and Turaki were arguing themselves. They should bring that to the table and let's resolve this issue. Just like the FCT minister said, and we address this issue once and for all and live up to the expectation of Nigerians that are looking up to PDP to come on board back. But going to the Supreme Court, to me, is not a way forward for the crisis we are facing.
Now, talk to me about the time that clearly PDP is running out of, because you mentioned the FCT minister and he echoed that same concern about the primaries around the corner, less than a month and 2 weeks away. In April to May, the primaries are billed to take place according to INEC guidelines. Some would say the worst case scenario, PDP is out of the running effectively as far as 2027 is concerned. Do you think your party will make it to the ballot in time for next year's election?
Yes, I think we'll make it to the ballot, but it also depends on the attitude of our leaders, one. And also we have not just the primary starting on the 26th of April to terminate at the window 26th of April to 30th of May. But with the new Electoral Act section 77, subsection 7, 6 and 7, you have to submit a digital register of your members to INEC, 21 days to the primaries. So we have to meet that criteria. And that is why people like us are appealing to our leaders to see how they can share their swords and for the party to meet up with all its obligation as regards the new Electoral Act. So we can have candidates on the ballot come 2027, because that is the only way that it will show that, yes, we have the interests of Nigerians as a political party. Otherwise, if we try to prove who is right and who is wrong at this point, with the time frame we have, we will not achieve anything and will not be able to meet the expectation of Nigeria, which will not tell well about our party as the People's Party. So that is it.
Yeah, I mean, since 2023, since the loss of 2023 in the general elections, the PDP has been losing some of its key players. You've lost the former vice president, a handful of governors, a handful of senators and House of Representative members. Just earlier in the day, the governor of Zamfara State announced his departure from the PDP to join forces with the APC. It's very clear that some of the high players think PDP is a sinking ship and they have to jump off that ship to save their political career. What message do you think that sends to the rank and file, to supporters of your party who are also concerned about the viability of PDP as a political platform?
Who have gone this slow in terms of numbers of governors and National Assembly members and State Assembly members. It is quite discouraging. Many of us are not happy about this development, and squarely we blame our leaders. None of them can exempt themselves. None of our leaders. They are responsible, starting from the governors before they declined to this number to 2. Some of them that have left were part of this problem and they abandoned the party. If you have an issue in your family, won't you think of how to resolve it rather than running away? Won't you think how to make sacrifice? But they don't want to make sacrifice. That is the kind of society, political environment we have today. Nobody is ready to make sacrifice in the interest of the party, in the interest of the citizenry of this country, and in the interest of this nation. Otherwise, most especially to the second-term governors, what is the essence of the campaign? Won't you stay and see how you can resolve the crisis in the party, just like some others are doing? So it's so painful. The party that has given them this platform, national recognition, and they are abandoning it. And that's why I want to commend the Section 77 of the Electoral Act. For those of them that move like prostitutes, I thought you lose primaries, you jump to the next party to say I can collect this without principle. But with that section, most of them will not be able to, flex, have that political opportunity to have political prostitution going from one party to another, because if your name is not on the digital register submitted to INEC, as at the time it was submitted, you cannot be voted, or you cannot vote or be voted for. So we are all disappointed, to be frank. Members of the party are disappointed, Nigerians are disappointed, and that's why we are calling upon our leaders, just like the SDT inside, drop your ego, drop your pride, drop your ambition. It is time to make sacrifice to prove to us genuinely that you love PDP. That is it.
All right. It is safe to say that the drama in the PDP is a gift that keeps on giving. Comrade Daboikiabo Amate, thank you very much as always for the analysis. Appreciate you very much for joining us on the News Hour.
Thank you for having me.